that was at Chase's house when I rode his mini bike for the first time. I did that once, but I didn't fall off. I just went to the neighbor's yard.
It's up there. Yeah, it is.
Try this wheel bike.
Yeah.
Ran into a mailbox. I didn't have a twist throttle there.
Your mama called me, I couldn't tell if she was crying or laughing. Whenever he fell off that bike, took out the mailbox and everything. It was funny. I wish I would've got.
Oh, it's funny on him, but not funny on you, huh?
No, he wasn't on the motorbike.
It don't matter where it's on a motorbike or a virtual.
Yeah, and Tuesday.
Hot
Next
rod?
2 days.
I think it is.
You made her,
Or
you
the
made her
weather.
right.
They
They did.
did.
She told me, say, oh, get on that, drive.
No, they haven't let me know they made, they're not, it takes them several
We
days.
know our limitations.
Well, if it
flying.
would've had a thumb
Oh, 'cause they
throttle
told me they were
that
driving,
would've
so I
never
don't know.
happened.
She sat here and told,
Because
Michelle
look,
told
the
me, she
thumbs don't
sat
do
here and
this,
told
look,
us
when
they
you
were
go to
flying
hold
out.
on,
He
you
didn't
release
wanna fly, but they
that
were gonna
twist
fly
off.
because of his health. They were
About
gonna get
that.
there quicker.
They'll still probably
I
run
haven't
into
heard
stuff.
nothing from
Oh,
them.
okay.
What do y'all still have a camera?
Their son had somebody come drive.
You almost hit the cactuses.
Yeah.
Oh,
That would've been bad.
'Cause I know when we went out to eat, that's what they were just saying, so who knows?
Nothing fixing me. Nothing.
As long as they get back safe, that's all that matters.
Don't go
Have you
close
heard
off
anything
again.
from the musics, cause I know I've tried to call them and I haven't gotten anything.
Really.
I tried to call him there, but
Is it
call him
really?
back.
They're saying it's not even that bad.
Okay.
Somebody heard you doing this.
Supposed to call me, but he never did.
Huh.
It's just like,
I hope they're doing all right, 'cause I haven't, like I said, I haven't heard from them, and normally he'll call me every now and
hurts
then.
my heart.
They were there from the
I had that arrow heart.
Okay.
But people don't stop and think about that. Is your phone on vibrate?
You see Mr. Garrett's back in the hospital, didn't you?
Yeah, they were supposed to do a surgery and they had to postpone it, so,
Who?
Richard Garrett.
Oh, that's right.
So Wednesday I met with the adjuster from our attorney. He come out and did all his stuff, and like I said, it's just, all the stuff's gotta go through the attorney now, we just gotta wait. He's like, oh no, they owe you for this, I'm like, I know, that's why we got y'all, to figure it out. And he said, it should cost no more than $64,000 to do your roof. He goes, is anybody gonna try to charge you more than that? Go to somebody different. So I got in contact with the company that we've been dealing with. And I was like, before we do anything, I said, I've got 2 other estimates. And cause they went real high on purpose to see if they could do stuff with the insurance. So that's what brought the red flag, is what this adjuster told me. So what we're gonna do is whenever everything's settled, I'm not signing anything with the company that we've been dealing with until they show me what they're gonna quote us. They're the only one that's quoted to redo the gutters though. All the other ones did not put that in there, so, I mean, they could go up higher, so we'll see. And like, I even told Ryan on the phone, I was like, before we do this, I was like, I want to see y'all's quote. I was like, because I have to present my church 3 quotes, and they're gonna go with who they want. I was like, I'm trying to stay with you guys, but you're gonna have to come down. He goes, oh, I know, remember we did it high on price, so when it's all said and done, we'll see. We'll see who we're gonna go with. I have the quote from the guy with Miss Margaret that got me one. Another gentleman came and gave us one that was like $69,000, and we'll see what this company does. So we'll see, hopefully, I know they have something that has to do in May, some testimony, something that they have to do, so who knows? They might be putting this roof on during hurricane season, I don't know. But,
Before hurricane season.
yeah, I'm hoping, but I'll tell you right now,
You know,
learning with the attorney, they don't move fast.
the Lutheran church there in Kansas City, theirs was damaged, really bad, and they're just now getting their specs.
Oh, yeah.
They just started on their.
I talked to another person, they said it took them almost a year
Yeah.
with insurance and turning it into it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's how it works. I mean, so,
Well, look at all the people that were damaged in the hurricane, some of those people still don't have any, they're still dealing with.
well, supposedly the one adjuster that we went to before the attorney has the checks from Liberty, like the one to pay for the roof and all this, but they're denying us stuff that they need to cover on the inside. That's why the attorney's involved, and he's like, And supposedly this attorney don't get involved unless he's gonna win, and he's a very well known, his name's Hans something, on a canon law group or something, and even the adjuster, when he came out, he's like, yeah, you got the best one. He goes, Liberty ain't gonna win on this one. I'm like, okay. And as long as everybody gets paid out of the insurance money, cause our church is only paying the deductible, and they're like, yep, that's how we do it. I said, okay. So we shall see. But I'm learning a lot. It don't take, man, you commit a crime, they're gonna get you in and out pretty quick. But you trying to get money or something, it takes forever to get money from an insurance company that you're paying money to every single month. Listen, they are not for you.
$1,000.
Yeah, they are not for you. I'm just telling you that right now.
They're for making money.
Exactly. They wanna make it, but they don't wanna give it. They want you to give it to them, they don't wanna give back
They make
But
money
we'll get through it.
hand over foot.
eventually. We're in 1 Samuel 17. God gives courage is what we're gonna be talking about, and it's about everybody should know this story about David and Goliath. I hope you know it, cause that's what this one's gonna be on. We're to have courage to do what God calls us to do, knowing that He has the power to accomplish what He has called us to do. He's not gonna send us into something that we are not gonna win on. So just remember that. So what are some obstacles that frustrate or frighten you? Obstacles. Anybody?
Brock has something.
Things that's going on in our country and nobody's putting them in jail for what they done.
Yep, that can frustrate you.
Financials?
That can frighten you and frustrate you depending on what it is. What about I-4 traffic?
That's a nightmare.
Not just I-4.
Or just I-4.
Getting worse.
75, I-4, 75, 60.
Florida.
27.
Florida, period.
Just-
I think
just
anywhere
Seems no better.
outside your driveway.
I don't get on 27 unless I have to.
I told Fran this morning, I think they send everybody to Haines City that don't know how to drive, and that's where they live
Kansas
at.
City is one of the worst cities in our county.
But
for-
you look at how many people that are not born and raised here, you know,
No,
you've
they're
got
from-
a
yeah.
lot of,
They don't know. But it's not just here, cause I was in Tennessee and people up there can't drive either, so don't feel bad. It's everywhere.
They can't.
But insurance is
It's
over
we're a no-fault state, that's why.
90% cheaper.
Yep. If we weren't a no-fault state, we might pay a little higher on some things, but you'll get some things done. But I wish we would do away with that, but as long as the governor we have and others that are up there, they're not. They're gonna make it a no-fault state, so it basically hurts the ones that are doing right, so. Well, today we're gonna see how David trusted God to help him defeat Goliath. How many people, how old do you think David was when he fought Goliath?
Wasn't he like 13 or something like that?
Between 13 and 15 years old. Think about how tall he was, probably not even a little over 4 foot. And he went up against one that they claimed to be 9 foot tall. So, trust me, when God's in it, you can win. Now, how does it make you feel when someone is not doing their job and then the whole group is affected by it? How does that make you feel?
it affects everybody.
You're doing your part and then everything else is not.
I've always been told, even at work, that as long as you're taking care of Fran, then you ain't got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, just gotta take care of us. It's one of those things that, in the workforce, yes, that's how we do it. In the church, we have to realize that if we're not living right, it's gonna affect the whole church, especially if you're part of a church. Sin within the camp doesn't allow the church to grow, doesn't allow it to work like it's supposed to. But when you have your regular job, you can only worry about you. So when have you seen someone else step in to get the job done, even though it was not their responsibility? I've seen that many times. I myself have had to do that. I mean, I remember being at work sometimes on calls and I can watch New Debt and I'm like, okay, I can't keep watching this. So I have to step in and sometimes you have to. Well, that's exactly what David did when he went there and his brothers and everybody were cowards and sat back. Got this little teenage boy that says, oh, I got this. Who's this uncircumcised Philistine? I want to say that to somebody so bad. I want to look at somebody and say, you uncircumcised Philistine, what do you want? No, I'm just kidding. I think it'd probably not go well. I probably won't do it in uniform. I can promise you that. That might not go over pretty well. How many of you believe we're going to face obstacles?
Absolutely, every day.
Every day.
Every day.
How are y'all handling them? Don't answer that. I already know. I can look. Tell we ain't doing a good job on them. Notice I said we. I put myself right there with y'all. All right, now this one's on the first 24 verses, and as you know, I'm not going to read the 24 verses. But one thing I do want to read to you is verse 16 says, "And the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days." Anybody remember what the number 40 means in the Bible?
Trials.
Time of testing.
Testing.
40 days. Look at verse 20. "And David rose up early in the morning to go do everything he was told to do." I wonder how many of us rise up early to get things done. No, some people are like, no, I gotta sleep. Notice why you're so tired? Maybe because we're not doing what God's told us to do. Get up early, God will give you the strength for it. David did. He rose up early. And it says, "And left the sheep with the keeper and took and went as Jesse his father commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight and shouted for the battle." So by this time Samuel had already anointed David as king. But David found himself in services to Saul. Remember, he played the harp for him. Remember, we learned that and did other stuff for Saul. With enough time to fulfill his duties tending his father's sheep as well. So he had time to do all that. When David left the sheep and went to visit his brothers, he faced two different challenges. One was Goliath. Goliath taunted Saul and his army for 40 days, twice a day. He was an idolatrous pagan, and his people had come into the western part of the promised land and were a continual problem for Israel. So the challenge that lay before Saul and his army. But they observed but dared not act. So the second challenge that David faced was his brothers and their fellow soldiers' unbelief. His oldest brother, Eliab, belittled him, attacking his character and his motivation. Saul showed no confidence in David's abilities or his competence. Before David could meet the physical challenge of Goliath, he had to get past the spiritual challenge of the unbelief and the suspicion in the hearts of his own people. You and I have to do the same thing. When you step out and do anything for God, there's going to be people that says, "Oh, they shouldn't do that. That's not going to work. Look at them. They want all that." I'm telling you, you're going to get it. And the sad part is you're going to get it from the people that you thought would support you, and except they're going to go against you. But you got to get past that. That's what David had to do, because his own brothers was against him, belittled him, picked on him, thought he was, "Why are you here? Who do you think you are?" So do we at times face challenges from unbelievers as well as from those who should be encouraging us? We know that. So why had this face-off dragged on for 40 days with no resolution? They say part of the answer lies with the geography. So the valley of Elah lay at the base of the Judean foothills. It's approximately 12 miles due west of Bethlehem, just before the land flattened out on its way to the sea. Steep ravines marked either side of the valley, so both armies therefore had good defensive positions from which to observe the other. Either army that chose to attack would find itself fighting up a steep incline. Thus, there was a stalemate. So you got to think about it. Unless they attacked at night, if they did it during the day, it's going to be kind of hard because they're going to see them coming, they're going to know what they're doing, and they got to go up a steep cliff to get to them. So it is hard to imagine a more intimidating physical adversary than Goliath. It says his height is given as 6 cubits in a span, or over 9 feet tall. Goliath's armor added over 100 pounds. The iron tip of his spear weighed over 15 pounds. Now skeptics do question his height, but Goliath surely had a genetic trait like other people mentioned in the Bible, which led to unusual size. So in fact, this trait has occurred in various cultures in human history. In 2 Samuel chapter 21 verse 20, we read that somebody from Goliath's area was a huge man and had 6 fingers and 6 toes on each hand and foot. That's weird. But
Well, the
they did.
Palestinians were known for being
Well, they were giant. They were
tall,
huge.
tall,
Yeah.
tall people.
And then if you
Even
look,
today, they are.
and I think like if you look at David and stuff, he was shorter than all of his brothers. So you're looking at 4 or 5 foot tall, if that.
If somebody, let's say that let's say like, even today, like a 7'1" person to a person that's 5 foot looks 8, 9 foot tall. Heck, they look
Mm-hmm.
this much taller than me when I'm standing there.
It's got to look up to him. So Goliath's physical intimidation was a platform for something even more dangerous, a deceptive defiance of Jehovah God. He made a show of appealing to the Israelites' desire to avoid bloodshed. Why should we slaughter each other? Let us just have one individual fight me, man to man, and settle this. Yet even his appeal to reason carried the tone of rebellion. He says, I defy Israel's army. Whoever defied the Philistines defied their false gods, of course. So likewise, whoever defied Israel's army defied God. Listen, we have to be ready to interact with people who defy and ignore God. Now, we got to interact with them. We're going to have some of them in the churches that don't want to believe there's a God. I put a thing on, I saw it on Facebook, and it was funny because it had a monkey on it. That's what made me look at it. And it says something about I'm trying to get it right about an atheist, that basically, if there was no God, then how can there be an atheist? You know, because they deny believing in something. But if there's no God, then why do they think they're an atheist? So it's just one of those things people just, like I said, you can't fix stupid, but it's out there. So they just had their national holiday too. So battle by champions. It was a common in that area of the world in that time as well. Historians have records of similar combats among the Egyptians, the Babylonians, and even Greeks. Those nations believed it was ultimately their gods, lowercase g, or deities who decided the battles. Why not let a couple of representatives fight, rather than needlessly slaughtering hundreds or thousands? Some might consider such a belief to be rather primitive. Yet David clearly saw the spiritual combat and made the startling claim that the battle was the Lord's. When we look at verses 12 through 19, they will reveal how David came to be present for these events. And that his aging father sent him to take food to his 3 older brothers who were in Saul's army. He also sent food for their commanders, no doubt to foster a good relationship between them and his sons. What David found was not what he expected. His brothers saw him as a pesky little brother who should let the older ones handle such things. Kind of sounds like a lot of families today, right? The older ones think they know everything, and obviously they're the ones sitting there being cowards. Perhaps they were ashamed, knowing it was almost time for Goliath's regular taunting routine. Soon, David learned that the situation was much more serious and dangerous than he realized. Listen, we don't know for sure how old David was, but some estimate that he was in his mid-teens, very young for physical combat by our standards. Now, Numbers chapter 1 specified that those of age 20 and above were eligible to go to war. So we know that David's 3 older brothers in Saul's army were at least 20 years old. David being the youngest, we know that he was not of age. So it says if the brothers were only a year apart in age, David could have been around 15 years old. But he was not, however, a little child. He was no longer a full-time shepherd boy. He was one of King Saul's armor bearers. And the Hebrew word that designates him as a youth also later describes David's son Absalom, who led a rebellion against him. So David was not inexperienced. So now we got Goliath's taunt. It says, are you not the servant of Saul? It says, highlighted the fact that Saul had been the one down in the valley with him. Now Saul was taller than the other Israelites, but he was the king. If he was unwilling to participate in combat, then Saul should have been kingly enough to send someone else. He didn't pick nobody. They were all sitting there scared. But he avoided any conflict altogether by trying to bribe someone to do it for him. He was trying to bribe somebody to do it. And still, none of his people in his army wanted to do it. Anybody have anything on that first section? All right. Next one is God gives courage to those who trust in him. This is verses 25 through 58 of that chapter. So the talk going through the camp boiled down to someone do something. But no one has accepted Saul's personal or political incentives. He wanted to give riches, marry his daughter, and pay no taxes. David, unaware of that, questioned the situation, whereupon the soldiers explained Saul's initiatives. So we see in their language a contrast between the attitude of the soldiers and that of David. Soldiers called Goliath this man. David called him this uncircumcised Philistine. Soldiers spoke of one who would kill him. David spoke of who would kill and remove this disgrace from Israel. The soldiers saw someone who defied Israel, and David saw who defied the armies of the living God. Eventually, people reported David's words to Saul, who sent for him. So David offered a solution for Saul's problem. He said that he would fight Goliath. Now, David understood that his victories over wild animals had prepared him to defeat Israel's enemy as well. Those previous victories had come only from God. Present victory would come from the same source. David did not require the weapons that conventionally wisdom commanded or demanded. In fact, those weapons would diminish his chances for victory. He did not say that Saul's armor did not fit him. He said instead he was not used to it. Meaning he didn't practice it. He didn't test with it. He ain't gonna grab somebody else's stuff and try to use it. So he refused the unfamiliar armor because he needed to be as mobile as possible. So he went with what he knew, a sling and 5 stones, and he stepped up to the fight. So if we open our hearts to God, we will see how God prepared us for now by how he led us in the past. Likewise, the way he wants us to fight will likely involve what we know best, not what everyone else thinks is best for us to do. Notice how that was said. We got to know what's best. And if we're not in the Lord's will and his word, we're not going to know. We're going to go by what everybody else tells us to do. And obviously, if they knew how to do it, why did they not do it? Don't you like that when somebody tries to tell you how to do something and it's like, then why don't you do it? Why haven't you done it? Oh, that's just my suggestion. Well, then don't suggest if you don't want to do it. That's what I tell people. It's like, you got a suggestion and you think you can, then go right ahead. I'll watch it. If it don't work, then I know that your idea didn't work.
But be willing to help them too.
Definitely. I mean, help them, but
Yeah, I mean, don't just sit back and watch. You can help.
and they don't know who that is. Sometimes it might be funny just to sit back and watch, just to see. So David focused on his belief that the God of Israel would honor his name and his covenant with his people. Life's events will never shatter that expectation. So the rest of today's text never again mentions Goliath's name. He is merely the Philistine. He scornfully belittled and cursed David, promising to destroy him so thoroughly that he would never even see a proper burial. David's reply left no room for diplomacy or spin. Goliath had picked a fight not with Saul or with his army or even with David. He picked it with God. So David met Philistine armor with the name of God. It was Goliath who would lack a proper burial. David's reply surely enraged his adversary, who moved in for the kill. David ran in quickly and attacked with a stone from his sling. We know the enemy fell. To complete the task, he went and grabbed Goliath's sword and cut his own head off with his own sword. Boy, isn't that something? That'd be like...
That's the improper burial.
That's exactly right. So the sling that David used was not a slingshot. Slings are deadly in the hands of skilled slingers. I said slingers, not swingers. I know some of y'all thinking about it. And it's not the commercial sling either. You know, it's not something with TV. But according to ancient records, they claim that projectiles such as stone, clay, or even lead from slings could break bones, damage internal organs, kill, penetrate, and even lodge inside the body, and occasionally penetrate armor. Just depends on who's using it and how they use it. It says that it is possible that Goliath removed his helmet through overconfidence. So a projectile moving at an upward however, or moving in an upward arc, however, would avoid the helmet altogether as it found the skull just between the eyes. That's where it hit him.
I watched the thing where they used the ballistic dummy, you know, ones with the skull and stuff on it, with these people's professional sling things, and they can hit somebody in the chest and bust their
Mm-hmm.
bone, and especially if they hit them in the head, it'll enlarge inside and just shatter the skull. That's how
happened with
bad
Goliath.
they are.
So sling ammunition could achieve velocities as great as 90 meters per second. They say slings could be deadly and even accurate at 100 yards, even with a range over 1,000 yards. A skilled slinger could fire 12 rounds per minute. Now we may assume that David was experienced, but the stone provided David the opportunity to use Goliath's own sword against him. Man,
That's
can you
almost
imagine?
360 feet per second throwing a projectile like that at you.
He had a stone and just slung that thing.
That's got some foot pounds of
I'd
energy behind
like
it.
to watch somebody do that and get it accurate, you know, just to see. But you got it, like I said, they practice at that.
A professional can hit that doorknob over there.
They're good. Well, such an unexpected outcome shocked all the Philistines, and of course they fled in panic. The newly confident Israelites, now that David did what they did, they all got confident and they all started pursuing them. They returned the plunder. They returned to plunder the abandoned enemy camp, and David claimed the slain enemy's weapon as his own and put the severed head on a display, a grisly proof of the Philistine defeat. So why did David take the severed head to Jerusalem? The Israelites did not control Jerusalem at this time. That would come later, after David ruled as king. Likely, David was sending them a message. Here's our most recent unbeatable enemy. You're next. Can you imagine? You're next. Okay, I'd be like, no, you got this. I'm out. So did Saul really know, or did Saul really not know David's family? Perhaps he did not fully connect all the dots or paid attention to David's recounting of his victories as a shepherd. Perhaps Saul needed the information to keep his promises to the family of the one who defeated Goliath. So God's victory through David spoke to many that day, the Philistines and also the Israelites alike. Unseen by Saul, his cowardice against the Philistines opened the door for the one that he would soon see as his political rival. He did not fight for God's glory. God would honor the one who did. Remember, God honors those who trust him and those who step out in faith. He does not honor the ones that don't want to do nothing. He does not honor the ones that are cowards. He does not honor the lazy, the slothfulness that the Bible talks about. He honors those that are faithful, those that are trying, those that want to do something, those that are striving. So we just got to realize no matter what we face, if we're doing it for God, he's going to get you through it. He's not going to just leave you there hanging. He's not going to leave you there by yourself. You know, he's right there with you. We might not see him, we might not sense him, we might not feel like he's there, but I can promise you he is. Just don't give up, don't quit. Don't cower and go the other way. He gave us armor that fits the front of us, which means we have to keep moving forward. We fight from a forward position, not from retreating. Y'all made me get done quick. Anybody got anything?
But that story, your Goliath could be anything, not just a person. It
Y'all remember the series we did with Louis Giglio, Goliath Must Fall, on Wednesday nights? Your Goliath is anything that stands between you and an obstacle. It could be a fear, it could be a doubt, a worry, a lack of faith. It could be somebody, it could be something. You know, whatever it is that challenges your faith and hinders you can become your Goliath. Instead of looking at Christ, we're looking at our Goliath and we're thinking there's no way around him, there's no way over him, there's no way through him, we're stuck. You can't look at it from that perspective. We look at it from our eyes. That's the problem. We have to look at it from the eyes of the Lord. And if we can do that, then it allows us to be able to complete what God has tasked for you in your life. And you have to realize it's all about him. It's not about you and I. And I don't know, it's just one of those things, it seems like we waste so much time on things that are not of God, when we could be putting that time and energy for things of God. And I'm not talking about just things, I'm talking about people too. I mean, it's just one of those, we live in a world today that we're go, 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 and it's like, we wanna waste more time on people that don't really care or wanna be around you or do anything, because we're afraid it's like, no, love them from afar, move on. You know, I put a meme out there that was by the one lady, she's been in a lot of movies as a black lady, I can't remember her name, but she's a good Christian lady. And it was talking about putting all your time and energy in people that don't want to give back or love or anything. It's like, you gotta love them, pray for them, but move on. You know, it's, unless God tells you to stay and do whatever you gotta do, then do it. If God's not, then move on and put your energy and love into somebody else that wants it. Love on them, be there for them, you know, but pray for the other one. Don't just say, okay, I'm done, you're on your own. No, pray for them. But just don't let it consume you. I mean, it's one of those, we're not getting any younger. So make the best with what you got and who you got right now. I know what it was. It was talking about, I don't have my phone with me to be able to read it to you. It was talking about that just because somebody might be family, blood related or whatever, that you might have others that aren't family that are closer to you and love you more and are there more for you than your regular blood. And that's where it's talking about and it's sad because we all have people in our families that they're family by blood and that's it. They don't want to do nothing with you, they don't want to help you, they don't want to be there for you, but unfortunately they're blood, so they're family. They're always going to be. But then you got friends that are just like, I mean, I have some, I had one, I mean, he's home with the Lord now, but it's just like, those are, you want them to be family. They're not of blood, but you look at them as like a brother or sister, because of how close they are to you. You know, everybody has somebody like that in their life. If you don't, ask God to send somebody that way. That's your encourager, that's your rock. I got a couple in my life and love them to death. Might not get to see them that often, but we're in contact most every day. I guess that's the only thing you can say is good about texting. But it's one of those things that, I don't know, I guess I'm just learning in life to just put my energy where it needs to be. Focus on the ones that care, that love, and just pray for the ones that don't. Because if not, it will consume you. Especially when you see them. And they don't say one word to you and you just want to choke them. But you gotta love them. You gotta look at them and say, yeah, I gotta love you. That happened to me just the other week. Oh, people, I just don't get it. If we can't love here and we can't get along here, I can promise you you're not going there.
40 years ago, everybody gathered up.
Yeah.
And as time goes by and the younger generation,
Family reunions are no longer there. Actually, my
when
daughter.
the babies, they love you, and when you get to be 13, 14 years old,
Yeah. Unless they need money. Then they coming back to you and think you're the greatest grandpa in the world, right? My daughter even said it to me yesterday, I think it was not yesterday, it was the other day, her and I were somewhere. And she says, Dad, why don't we start our own family reunion up? I'm like, what do you mean? She said, we got a lot of family. She goes, no, the ones that care, that want to be. And I'm like, huh, that's coming from her. And I'm like, we can do that. I was like, there's no reason not to. I was like, keep them close. I was like, the others, they'll look back one day and they'll regret that. Hopefully, God will get a hold of their heart before it's too late and they'll make things right and then you be family again. That's the whole goal, right? Is to get them back. But you can't force somebody to do what's right. All you can do is your part, love them from afar and just move on. But I'm not wasting my time and energy on people that obviously don't want it, you know? And it's just one of those things that I can love people. I've learned in my lifetime, you're always going to have those that will love you to your face that talk bad about you behind your back. You just gotta love them. You can't change them, you can't correct them. Look at what they did to Jesus. You know, right behind his back, they were wanting to kill him. They were wanting to do everything they could, but then in his face, they'd be all nice and, no, God will take care of them. I'm not gonna worry about that. It's, does get to you though. Flesh wants to say something, but I stay quiet. So I don't talk much. People's like, why are you always quiet? There's a reason. You don't want me to say nothing. Because then I might not talk with my inside voice. I tell some people, I say, that's supposed to be the inside voice, right? You're supposed to keep it inside. Sometimes we let it out, and we don't mean to. But just realize, God knows. God knows everything that we say and do or don't say and do. God knows how we talk to people, and then how we talk about those people, and how God knows, and he's gonna make sure that he takes care of whatever's wrong and makes it right. So all we can do is love and just keep going. But remember, no matter what Goliaths you face, as long as you face them in the name of the Lord, they will fall. If not, they will defeat you. Okay? And we're not supposed to be defeated. We're fighting from victory, not for it. So can't walk around here all gloom and doom all the time, because we claim we love God, and let's show him. Listen, it's not a feeling. Because right now, if it was a feeling, my flesh is so defeated lately, it's like, I ain't supposed to be, but it's like, I'm not here on the flesh, I'm here in the spirit. So when we go into worship today, let's look at it as, okay, why are we here? Are we here to worship God, or are we gonna sit here and sulk and be down and out and have problems and think about the problems that we can't control, that we can't fix, that are still gonna be there when you leave here today, because obviously you didn't fix them because you still have them? Or are we gonna go in there and just say, Lord, this is all about you today. All my Goliaths, I need you to take care of. I need you to handle those. Leave them at the altar and let it go. Remember, it's that pause before the storm. It's how you're gonna handle the storm or that battle. You gotta pause for a second, and then you gotta think, what am I gonna do, fight or flight? So, I'm gonna give y'all plenty of time to do whatever y'all have to do. Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the courage that you gave David, and for showing us, Lord, that all we have to do is trust in you. And we know that if we give all of our cares to you, that you will take care of them. So Lord, I pray this morning that if there be somebody here this morning, Lord, one that's lost, that doesn't know you as their personal Savior, that you would draw them by the Holy Spirit's power so they can be wonderfully saved. But if there's some here today that are burdened, that just don't have that joy that they once had for their salvation, Lord, that just maybe not be living right, Lord, I pray that you'll speak to their hearts, that things would get made right today so they can leave here refreshed, revived, and ready to go to work for you. Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we ask all of this in your name we pray.